A heated moment on Fox News as The Five reveals so much about the awful priorities of the hosts on that network, except the one who calls out that fact, Jessica Tarlov. Jessica Tarlov is the widely beloved liberal Fox News host who sits on a panel with four typical Fox News hosts on the show, The Five, and things got pretty contentious on the show yesterday in a moment that I want to play for you. And the reason is it just so clearly illuminates the way that Fox News hosts, again, other than Jessica, have one gear. All they have is a hammer. Everything looks like nails, and they hammer those nails. And their hammer, of course, is attacking Joe Biden and Democrats no matter what, all the time, no matter how dishonestly they have to do it. And the topic at hand here is the war between Israel and Hamas. Since October 7th, Fox News hosts have been less interested in accurately covering the war and more interested in finding ways to blame every aspect of it on Joe Biden. And what you're going to see play out here is Jessica Tarlov makes that very point and also points out that liberal media has messed up in their coverage as well. And then right after calling out her host for that, Jeanine Pirro just jumps right back into the same nonsense. And then Jessica has the best, most human, and rightfully fed up response to it. Take a look.
Seen in the past couple of days, reports have been coming out of Israel that Bibi has been talking to people within the government, saying, you know, I'm the only person who's going to be able to maintain control over the West Bank and Gaza after all of this is over and we get the hostages out. And that's what it is. I mean, this has been the fight since the inception of modern day Israel after World War II. And I won't say that I'm surprised because I have spent enough time around the table with you guys to know how you think about this, but it's incomprehensible to me to blame Joe Biden for this. I mean, if you want to talk about a world leader who turned their back on a pressing concern about what's going on in the Middle East, let's talk about Bibi Netanyahu and that he spent the 8-9 months before this attack happened having to send troops to the other side of the country because he wanted to overhaul the judiciary to keep him in office forever and completely gut their version of the Supreme Court. Over 80% of Israelis have a negative view of him. People in his own administration have taken responsibility, saying we ignored signs, whether it's the report from Egypt or the fact that it will take you a couple years to build up what Hamas has managed to do. So Joe Biden, his standing on the world stage in terms of what world leaders think of him is up, what people in other countries think is up. And I think it's dereliction of duty, this narrative that's going on in the media and certainly in the liberal media, where they just want to crap on him. Because if you look at like the Morning Consult poll, the first poll taken since the ceasefire began, came out, first major poll, Biden's up 4 points and is now up 1 over Trump. There was a YouGov poll out last week that had Biden up over Trump. The New York Times Siena poll, which we gave its due, and we talked about the fact that Biden was down and he was losing the swing states in the crosstabs, and the New York Times didn't even cover this part of it. The crosstabs revealed that if Trump is convicted of anything, and he has 91 counts that he's facing, he loses by 10 points, and he loses every single swing state.
What's that got to do with what would you do to negotiate to get the hostages
I answered,
no,
okay,
but we're not talking about Donald Trump.
2 points in the real case.
In the average, I didn't, but my point is that it is more fun.
That's not the topic.
You always say that's not the topic.
Because you go off topic.
Let's not talk about who goes off topic here.
The crosstabs.
Really?
But it is relevant because you start out by saying this guy is a moron and we're in a hot war here and a cold war here and the border's open and whatever. So I'm talking about what's going on in the ground.
No,
I'm talking about the general.
Jessica, we have not had a zombie apocalypse. Let's just remember that.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Have
you seen MSNBC?
And you know what? It's unfortunate. The way this president cares about soldiers is enabling more attacks on our soldiers.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking, and I made a statement. And
I
made
a statement.
Here we go again.
That reaction from Jessica Tarlov is exactly how I feel every time I see a moment from Fox News. What are you talking about? And it's so lazy and enraging on the part of people like Jeanine Pirro. Just the one setting, Biden evil, Biden evil, Biden evil. They're incapable of accurately assessing anything because of that setting. It really is as if they have glasses on that makes everything look like it fits into the narrative that Biden is the worst. Even though, as I've been discussing extensively lately, he's the most effective president in decades. And lately, we've been seeing this disturbing trend in right-wing media where they're constantly saying there's going to be a terrorist attack because of Joe Biden. There's going to be a terrorist attack because of Joe Biden. This weird sort of adjacent to wishing it. It's disgusting. Just no ability to look at the actual policies he's been implementing or assess his actual handling of the war between Israel and Hamas, and then have some sort of conclusion, or even there are, of course, absolutely fair criticisms of Joe Biden. But no one should be going to Fox News hosts to find those fair criticisms because they've proven themselves to be dishonest actors. I said that as if it's breaking news. Did you know Fox News hosts are dishonest? Obviously. And what was that last comment from Janine Pirro? Let me play it again, just to remind you.
The way this president cares about soldiers is enabling more attacks on our soldiers.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking, and I've made a statement. And
I made a statement.
Here we go again.
She just says it and then provides absolutely no evidence to back it up. Biden's getting more soldiers hurt because he doesn't care about them? How? Explain specifically, Janine. And on the war between Israel and Hamas, it's obviously an extremely horrific situation with the brutal October 7th attack, with the thousands of Palestinian civilians who have been killed. There are so many factors that Biden is having to consider. And amid all that, he's been central in negotiating for the release of hostages. He's been working to get humanitarian aid to Gaza. He's been a part of getting the temporary ceasefire and the temporary daily pauses and all these different things. And in a situation that's so serious, so dire, and daily tragedies are taking place, this is the time to be honest in your analysis. And if you have reasonable criticisms, great, bring them forward. But Fox News hosts have no interest in that. It's just blindly screaming that Biden is horrible and he's ruined everything and he doesn't care about soldiers or something. And Jessica is correct on liberal media failing in many ways too, not just with this, but especially in a broad sense. We talked about in a past segment the reality that in American politics, almost everyone has an incentive to criticize Biden and Democrats, and almost no one has an incentive to accurately discuss their achievements. Right-wing media obviously is going to attack 24/7. Centrist and center-left media has to prove how independent they are, which they do by not spending much time on positive Biden and Democratic stories. And then progressive media has to prove they're more progressive than the mainstream Democrats. They do the exact same thing. So no one's giving credit where it's due when it comes to Biden and Democrats, or almost no one. And as I've said, I know this is true based on that poll that we looked at on the show previously that shows the initial approval rating of Biden. Then you explain to those being polled the facts of his policy record, and his approval rating shoots up. No one's informing, obviously, based on that poll, the American public of what Biden's actually doing and what stuff he's actually getting done. And I think that applies most severely to other subjects, but also here. Now, by the way, the dishonesty of Fox News hosts truly knows no bounds, as I'm sure you're aware. While we're on that subject, let me show you a clip that I came across yesterday. And initially I laughed, then got mad really quickly. Before playing it, a little bit of context so you understand what's going on. Yesterday, we talked about how Hunter Biden's lawyer told James Comer that Hunter Biden would be willing to testify in front of the committee as a part of their ridiculous investigation into President Joe Biden, as long as it is a public hearing. The lawyer specified it needs to be a public hearing so that Republicans can't twist a closed-door transcript and dishonestly present it in the media, which they have a long history of doing. Reasonable. Even though this whole investigation is a bunch of nonsense, Hunter Biden is saying he will comply with the subpoena, but would prefer transparency. Great. Well, not great to James Comer. We've all seen how the last public hearings have gone. His own witnesses accidentally destroying Republicans' case and Democrats running circles around Republicans. So James Comer said, no, it has to be private. So now the Fox News hosts got their marching orders from Comer. They're all suddenly very strongly in favor of a private testimony. And try to understand the incoherent logic of this Fox News host.
The White House feels like it doesn't want the son of the current president to get out and also add fuel to the fire away from the president of the United States. I mean, you've got a candidate who's already doing it. Now the son's going to do it. And how else does Biden keep up? Go to court? Well, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But I agree that I prefer hearings to be done behind closed doors because I think that they actually get to the heart of the matter and they get some truth and they can ask questions without preening for the camera, without all the grandstanding. That is my preference. And for Abby Lowell, his attorney, to say, well, you all use that to misinform and to distort the facts. Well, you know what? You can do that too, Abby. After he comes out of his closed door session, you feel free to knock yourself out and you can distort too. I mean, it's a silly argument.
Huh? Heck yeah, he's going to distort the facts, and then you can do it too, and just everyone can be confused. I've done a lot of talking on camera, obviously, so I know sometimes you're going, you sort of get lost and think to yourself, I'm hearing words coming out of my mouth. I know I'm speaking English, but they're not making a whole lot of sense. Hopefully I'll kind of figure out where I'm going before I have to put a period on the sentence. I hope that's how she regards that moment, because if she watches that moment back and thinks, nailed it, I don't know what to say. So her logic is, it's bad to have a public hearing where the American people can be the judge of what took place, because alternatively, get this, here's a better option. You can have a private testimony where both sides will spin what happened. Doesn't seem better. Now, to be clear, there are reasonable purposes for closed-door depositions. You can discuss sensitive and private information. You can go through more information because each member doesn't have to speak for as long and they're not focused on giving speeches for the cameras. All that's true. But because Republicans have already proven that they have this unhealthy, obsessive hatred for Hunter Biden and have dishonestly twisted the information from previous closed-door depositions, I think it's perfectly reasonable for Hunter Biden's lawyers to be demanding it be public. By the way, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez responded to the clip we just watched of that Fox News host and said on X, the reason the GOP doesn't want a public hearing on Hunter Biden is because oversight Democrats have hoisted them by their own petards in every public hearing this year. They're scared of getting humiliated for not having an actual case again, so they need to hide. There's your answer. And that's absolutely the case. We discussed previously the fact that James Comer was admonished by members of his own party for how the first impeachment inquiry hearing went. Total disaster. He reportedly wanted, because of that, to avoid any more public impeachment inquiry hearings, which is why there's only been one. And speaking of the first impeachment inquiry hearing, I'll remind you of one of my favorite moments from it, because we can't forget what this whole Biden investigation is really all about. And Jared Moskowitz breaks it down in perfect fashion here.
Show you. It's a simple board, right? So all other presidents in the United States, 50% of the impeachments. Donald Trump, the other 50. Donald Trump has half of the impeachments in American history. But you know what? He's got 100% of the indictments. 100% of all indictments. 0 for the other presidents. Listen, let me do it another way. I want to channel my inner Tim Russert. So let me go to the board, right? And I don't have Florida. But Donald Trump, impeachments. Oh, how many impeachments? We got 2 there. How many indictments? We got 4. How many for Biden? 0. Donald Trump is right. He's sick of winning. He's just winning, running away with it. And that's why we're here. We're here because of math. That's what this is about. They can't save Donald Trump. They can't take away the 2 impeachments and the 4 indictments, but they can try to put some numbers on the board for Joe Biden. But the problem is when you sling mud, you got to have mud. And they just don't have anything, Mr. Chairman. So look, we get it. We know why we're here. That's why they say the Biden family, the Bidens, James Biden, Joe Biden's dog, Commander, but not Joe Biden. Never Joe Biden. So when are you going to have the vote on impeachment, Mr. Chairman? What are you scared of? Call the vote. Come on. If you all think there's so much evidence, we're here. Call the vote on impeachment. Impeach him right now. I dare you.
That's it. They can't make Trump look less bad, but they can try to make Biden look more bad so Trump looks comparatively less bad. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is so helpful to the show. Something that's even more helpful than that is becoming a member at lukebeasley.com/membership to get access to the daily bonus show Monday through Friday. Plus, follow me on Threads at Luke Beasley Official, Instagram at Luke Beasley Official, X at Luke P. Beasley, and sign up for the Beasley Brief, a daily morning newsletter that summarizes the previous day's events by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/brief. And I'll talk to you all next time.